For many centuries, the population of the Middle Kingdom prayed to the celestial spirits of the immortal, venerable fox fairies. The divine fox fairies arrived from the astral dimensions and came to reside in the great palaces of the Big Dipper. The Jade Emperor, celestial monarch of the world, sends the sacred fox fairy spirits to our earthly dimension for the purpose of testing the integrity and internal character of mortals. In order to journey from the Big Dipper to the earth, the fox fairies must assume the form of a simple woodland fox. Then they have to learn the customs of mortals under their celestial fox tutors and pass their tests. Only those who pass the tests enable the transformation from a woodland fox to a magic fox fairy. Usually, most fox fairies either take the form of a beautiful young woman, a wise older sage, or a brilliant scholar. Often, the divine fox fairy takes the form of the venerable celestial husband, Mr. Hu, and his honorable celestial wife, Mrs. Hu. These powerful, omniscient deities can reward mortals by bestowing health, wealth, and prosperity. On the other hand, people who live their lives under the guise of lies and deceit will be deemed unworthy. The Honorable Fox Fairies, Mr. and Mrs. Hu, give some mortals a chance by placing them in complex situations to determine whether they deserve health and fortuitous fate. The Celestial Fox Fairies test mortals in many ways. Sometimes they give people large sums of money to see how they manage their situations. Do they succumb to the character traits of cheapness and greed? Often the divine fox fairies place someone in a position of great power to see whether their character remains fair and humane or becomes corrupted by the position of power. Celestial fox fairies also test the principles of filial piety to see how an individual treats their parents. Will the person take care of their father and mother in their waning years or not? A devoted female disciple could be blessed by the celestial fox fairies with a rich, benevolent husband or a healthy newborn child if she's having difficulties conceiving. The venerable Mr. and Mrs. Hu can bestow good luck to those with large families who are struggling to support their children or aging parents. When the people receive the sacred gifts of money and prosperity, the celestial fox spirits, Mr. and Mrs. Hu, observe how they manage their funds and situation. Will they use their celestial gifts for the benefits of their family? Or will they help close friends in dire need? Or will they lose their mind and embrace the insanity of wasting money on frivolous pursuits and affairs? Many times, ethical people who are gravely sick can receive health and good luck from those holy fox fairies. Although most assuredly, people with low morality are destined for loneliness, sickness, and poverty. The mortals who prove themselves as spiritual beings, utilizing higher standards of intellect, can receive the pill of immortality from the celestial fox fairies. The pill of immortality after death allows the mortal to fly to the Kunlun Mountains and the Islands of Immortals, where they can obtain contentment. Many Buddhist and Taoist temples have a separate hall dedicated to the fox fairies. The venerable Mr. and Mrs. Hu can be represented in those altars by lacquered tablets containing their Chinese character or by a pair of handcrafted clay figurines created by consecrated artists. The venerable Mrs. Hu has in her hand a magic silk amulet which sends celestial energies to women who pray to her. In her hair on the back of her head is the symbol of the celestial fox fairy mentor. The venerable Mr. Hu is adorned in rich and sophisticated clothes of a noble aristocrat. In his hand is a jar of magic pills of rejuvenation and prosperity. Over the centuries, people have prayed to the celestial fox fairies, Mr. and Mrs. Hu, for fulfillment of dreams. Before the Chinese Revolution in 1948 and the Cultural Revolution of 1960s, almost every house in the Chinese village, especially in northern China and Manchuria, had a home altar to the celestial fox fairies, Mr. and Mrs. Hu. The altar could be very modest and simple, made from a few rocks, with the characters that stated, "Venerable spirits of the fox fairies, please accept our offerings and help us with our problems." Conversely, the altar could be very elaborate, 5 to 6 feet tall, with 3 entrances in the front with elaborate fox paintings, complete with prayers for health, wealth, and longevity. Adorning the altar were plates that contained offerings, giving in gratitude to Mr. and Mrs. Hu for answering various prayers and requests. Often in homes, the celestial fox fairy altar was adjacent to the family altar of ancestors' worship. Some altars to the venerable fox fairies were designed to be mobile and portable, with the ability to move to different locations. On one side of the portable altars was an image of the venerable fox fairy Mr. Who. Men prayed to him to bring fortune, good luck, and prosperity. On the other side of the portable altar was an image of the Honorable Fox Fairy Mrs. Who. Women prayed to her to receive what they desired. Today, the venerable images of the celestial fox fairies, Mr. and Mrs. Who, have returned to mortals, giving those who pray rewards of health, wealth, and prosperity.